Welcome to Running Hot, Action Network's motorsports betting podcast. I'm your host, Nick Giffen, predictive analyst here at Action Network. And joining me, my co-host, Stephen Young of Roto Grinders, better known as Stevie TPFL. And this week, we're previewing the YellaWood 500 at Talladega Superspeedway here on Running Hot. Last weekend at Las Vegas, Denny Hamlin took the win away from Kyle Larson, passing him on a late restart and holding him off while Christopher Bell came in third place. That locks Denny into the championship race at Phoenix, giving him a chance to win his first career title. As I mentioned, Larson second, Bell third, and playoff driver Chase Briscoe was fourth in a finish that featured five of our 8 playoff drivers finishing inside the top 6, with Joey Logano finishing 6th as well. So, Stevie, what did you think of Vegas and the playoffs?
Vegas is quickly becoming one of my favorite tracks. I love the tire fall off. I like the racing. Look at last weekend, for example. Bottom worked, middle worked, top worked. It just depended on when in the run, where their grip level was at. I mean, we saw Tyler Reddick rip the boards at one point and run really well. We saw Larson rip the boards and run really well. We saw Hamlin run really well on the bottom. We saw Byron run really well everywhere. So I thought the racing was awesome. I think that we kind of talked about it on the podcast, and like Las Vegas is getting to the point where we might actually be able to compete with like Homestead, because it's quickly becoming very comparable to Homestead racing wise. So I thought the racing was awesome. Hats off to Denny Hamlin. I think Briscoe needed Larson and Hamlin to battle for a couple more laps, and I think he would have been up there. But good strategy call on Briscoe. They didn't have the race-winning car, and they gave themselves an opportunity to win. And Denny and Larson, very clean battle. I think that had Denny pushed Larson at all, I don't know how that would have ended for Denny. But very clean battle. Larson tipped his hat to him after the race, and overall, I thought the racing was great. I wish the Byron Ty Dillon thing didn't happen, but that's racing. I mean, that's the variance we talk about all the time. That's just a spotter and driver not communicating with another spotter and driver. I think Ty Dillon has to have his hand out there. Like you have to at least let them know. So it sucked for Byron. Blaney's in a bad spot. It's really interesting, like going into last week and where we are a week later, because Las Vegas is not typically a track where we see a ton of stuff like that happen. But happy for Hamlin. I hope that, money wise, I hope he doesn't go and win, but I love the fact that he's in there.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was really nice to see Larson, tip his cap to Denny Hamlin there after the race. Really good battle. And like you said, the major thing from this race was 2 major playoff implications. William Byron having the incident getting to pit road. We actually saw Shane Van Gisbergen also have a very similar thing. Luckily, he was able to avoid incident there as Byron did. Also, shout outs to SVG. He ran a great race, just had that bad luck at the end there, finishing 33rd. But the other major playoff implication was Ryan Blaney blowing a tire and finishing dead last. So in our playoff standings, we kind of have a little bit of a separation from the top 4. Obviously, Denny Hamlin's locked in. Then we have Larson, Bell, and Chase Briscoe. And Briscoe's 15 points ahead of William Byron, who, again, had that incident and crashed out. Byron is 15 points back. 23 points back is Chase Elliott. 24 points back is Joey Logano, and he just kind of started in a hole, not having as many playoff points to begin with. And Ryan Blaney, 7 points further back from his teammate Joey Logano after having the early incident. So real quick playoff thoughts. It's got to be pretty much win mode for these Penske boys, you would think, right?
Yeah, I think both of them are in must wins. I almost think
Elliott
that
too.
Yeah, I was gonna say I almost think Chase, but the thing is, like, it's really hard to guess where we're at must win wise, because like I don't think any of the 3 above the cut line are safe going into Talladega either. I mean, you could have Larson, Bell, Briscoe all have issues. Byron, Elliott, Logano, Blaney not have issues, and we could be looking at like a 10-point separation between 7 drivers heading into Martinsville. So I think it's tough to say like must win, but I mean, you have to think that Blaney and Logano and Chase are going to be very aggressive in the first 2 stages of this race, no matter what, to try to get stage points, where Larson, I don't know if he's going to be as aggressive. I mean, plus 35, like if he's really battling for somebody for stage points, is he really going to push to the limit? But Talladega is a little bit different than Daytona. There's a lot more 3-4 wide racing available here. So I think it's going to be an aggressive race from all 7 and all 8. Let's be honest. I think Denny is going to be aggressive too, because why wouldn't he be? I mean, at this point, you're locked in. So if Denny can win and like keep Joey or Blaney out of the playoffs by them not winning, like, I mean, your whole goal for Denny right now is just to win and be like, well, now I have a win and they don't. So, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and also one more shout out to Denny Hamlin. That was career win number 60 last weekend at Las Vegas, tying him with Kevin Harvick on the all-time list. But we are at Talladega this weekend. Talladega, of course, a 2 2/3 mile super speedway, highly banked. We have the drafting package on these cars. So, Stevie, talk about racing at Talladega and how it's a little bit different from Daytona.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of said it, right? Like, Daytona is just as fast as Talladega as far as like track wise, but they are very different because Talladega is a lot wider than Daytona. You have a little bit more time to react, I think is the best way to put it. You have a little bit more time to react to things. But overall, I think that the biggest difference between the two is, you can go 4 wide at Talladega and still have room. You go 4 wide at Daytona, there's no room. So I think as wide as the track is, I think that's the biggest difference. And I think the Talladega races are overall a little bit calmer than the Daytona races. But at the end of the day, like, there's just as many cars collected in big wrecks here as there is at Daytona. There's just, like I said, there's a little bit more time to react. And I think we're going to see fuel saving type of races again this weekend. And I hate that for speedway racing, but I think overall, it's the smartest thing to do if you're a driver here.
Yeah, absolutely. More time and more room to react to avoid the big one if there's a big wreck, and handling as well. Talladega doesn't seem to be quite as much a handling track as Daytona, just because Daytona is a little tighter in the turns and things like that. So, cars here at Talladega, they can take a bump a lot better than they can at Daytona. So I think it's going to be a very interesting race. Any other intangibles? We kind of talked on the playoff drivers. Obviously, like you said, lots of things can happen here. We can get the big one still, and there's still drivers that are, fighting for their careers or wanting to get their first win, or first win of the season, first career win. So we still have some drivers that, while they want to be mindful of the playoff drivers, they still want to make a name for themselves.
I mean, everybody, right? Like, at the end of the day, everybody wants to win this race. I think if you at the top of the list, I think Ty Gibbs would be at the top of the list. I think a guy like Eric Jones is towards the top of the list. But let's throw a little curveball, right? Alex Bowman, Daniel Suarez. I think those are 2 drivers that really could use a win. Alex Bowman has one of the best average finishes. He has the best average finish with the next gen car at super speedways, with 0 wins. Like, he's finished inside the top 10 in 7 of the 14 races that he's run with 0 wins. So I think, like, Alex Bowman kind of has this one circled as like, hey, we need to finish a race here. Like, we need to win a race because, I mean, we're doing really well. We're putting ourselves in great positions to be at the end of these races, and just hasn't kind of finished. I mean, him, Byron, Elliott, and Blaney are like the drivers that have done really well at finishing inside the top 10. So, I mean, yeah, if you're looking at the non-playoff drivers to try to win this race, I think Bowman and Daniel Suarez would be at the top outside of Ty Gibbs. Like, Ty Gibbs he needs to win. Like, we're now past 100 and he is way too talented not to be winning races. So I think Ty Gibbs up there.
Yeah, and let me just throw a couple other names out. Carson Hocevar trying to get that first career win. Noah Gragson is always aggressive at these, and he knows he can grab a win here. He has yet to get a win in his Cup Series career. Obviously, with the Ford thing going on there, and the Fords really work hard together, maybe a little bit less so Gragson, but he's also kind of selfish, in not in a bad way, just in a good way, to try to get some wins. So, yeah, absolutely. A lot of drivers trying to make a name for themselves. But you do have to think, a lot of focus on certain Chevys will be on getting those Hendrick guys into the victory lane. A lot of focus on the Fords will be getting those Penske guys into victory lane. So, Certainly a little bit of agenda driving here as well, but some of those drivers will be driving for themselves as well. So let's dive into those bets. We'll drive through the race stage by stage. We'll each give a pick in stage 1 as our shorter odds bet, then another pick in stage 2 with some longer odds. Finally, we're going to race through stage 3 and end up in victory lane with our combined favorite bet. So let's throw the green flag on the YellaWood 500 and fire off for stage 1. All right, stage 1 here. Stevie, you mentioned this guy, Eric Jones. What do you got on him?
Yeah, I mean, this is just like a staple bet for me when we go to speedway races. When it's anything over like plus 200, I'm going to bet it. And this week on Hard Rock, it is plus 230 for a top 10 for Eric Jones. And he's just consistently good at super speedways. I mean, we look at, again, we've had 15 of them with the next gen car. He's finished inside the top 10 in 6 of those races. I mean, those odds are phenomenal. And you look at where he runs, and he runs typically in front of where the issues happen. I mean, we want average running positions to be as far forward with the next gen car, where back with the old car, we wanted average running positions to be back because more wrecks happen at the front. So really like all the stats when we're looking at Eric Jones. Even at Talladega in the 7 races here with the next gen car, he's finished inside the top 10 in 4 of those races. You know, I don't necessarily need him to win when I'm betting these top 10s. I do think he has the upside to win. He's always in the position to be there at the end of these races, and that's kind of what we're looking for. But one of the better average running positions, consistently inside the top 10 in the end of these things. So I'm going Eric Jones top 10 plus 230 for stage 1.
Yeah, Eric Jones is a driver I'm always on, at super speedways. If he's 40-1, 45-1 to win, whether it's Daytona or Talladega. And, you could definitely say the same thing about a top 10. And he was battling there at the end of the Daytona race. It was Blaney who won that Daytona race right before the playoff cutoffs. And I had outright bets on 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And Eric Jones was the driver that finished 5th. He got shuffled out late while he was leading with a couple laps to go, but still managed to finish 5th there. For my stage 1 pick, I'm going to go to Fast Pasta, Anthony Alfredo, for a top 10 finish. It looks like the longest odds out there are now around plus 550. It was 6-1 earlier in the week, and even 10-1 at Hard Rock. If you saw me in the Action app, I tracked it at 6, but put in a note that it was 10-1 at Hard Rock at the time, but I still like it at plus 550. Anthony Alfredo is in that Beard Motorsports number 62 Chevy that has always been competitive at super speedways. I mean, look at Brendan Gaughan, what he did at super speedways: 7th at Daytona, 7th at Daytona, 8th at Talladega, 8th at Daytona, right? Like, this is a car that is very capable of finishing inside the top 10 at these super speedways. It's not one of these, what you would call back marker cars or anything like that. We saw Noah Gragson get a 5th at Daytona. We saw Parker Retzlaff get a 7th. Anthony Alfredo took this car to a 6th at Talladega just last year. So this is a car that is consistently finishing in that top 10. And at 5.5-1, you just need this to finish in the top 10 once out of every 6.5 races at these super speedways to be profitable. And it's easily done that. So not a whole lot of analysis here other than that. It's just a car that is capable of running with this draft, and a driver that is very good at drafting tracks. Anthony Alfredo, if you've seen him in the Cup Series or in the Truck Series, or in the Xfinity Series, I should say, not the Trucks, he's put this car or his car in the various series inside the top 10 very frequently at these drafting tracks.
One of the other things that I really like for Beard Motorsports this weekend is, with Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon not really running for anything, these Beard Motorsports cars, we talked about at Daytona, could they potentially be helping RCR push and stuff like that? But with Anthony Alfredo not really needing to help anybody, I mean, he's not running for points. He can kind of play a safer race, which, again, probably doesn't put him in a position to win, but you're not betting him to win. You're betting him for a top 10. So if we do get some chaos late in this race and some aggressive bump drafting like we typically see here at the end of these races, and something happens, I mean, it could be a really good spot for Alfredo. And you nailed it. Beard Motorsports, they always bring really good speedway cars to Talladega and Daytona. Something that I always like. I think I'm going to tail you on this one. I like Beard Motorsports just in general.
Yeah, and just to put it in perspective again, plus 550, that means he only needs to finish inside the top 10 15.4% of the time over these races to be break even. If he does it more than that, it is long-term profitable. In 5 career Talladega starts, Anthony Alfredo's finished inside the top 10 40% of the time. And that Beard Motorsports car is pretty close to that number in the, I think it's the high 20s or low 30%. So I don't have that exact number in front of me, but I do remember it being in that neighborhood there. So we're like more than double or almost around double these odds for the car and more than double for the driver himself in terms of a top 10 rate at super speedways. So love Anthony Alfredo.
You love the Hard Rock odds on him currently. So I tailed you on this, and Hard Rock is 7-1 currently for a top 10 plus 700.
Yeah, so they moved to 7-1 from 10-1 earlier in the week. So if you have Hard Rock, definitely grab it at 7-1. So stage 1, we have a couple top 10 bets for you. Stevie going with Eric Jones, top 10 plus 230. I have Anthony Alfredo plus 550 or even 7-1 if you have that available to you. So we're going to throw the green and white checkered on stage 1, come in. Maybe not even take tires here at Talladega. Well, at the end of the stage, probably we should, but we'll definitely get some fuel. And before we fire off for stage 2, I want to remind you all, NFL season week 7 is here. And to get the most out of the award-winning Action app, you'll want to be an Action Pro subscriber, because only Pro subscribers get real-time pick alerts from experts like Stuckey, Chris Raybon, Brandon Anderson, my buddy there, and myself, as well as our entire Action Network team. Plus, you can get access to our pro projections powered by our Director of Predictive Analytics, Sean Kerner, and the rest of our Predictive Analytics team. To celebrate football's return, we've got a special offer. Just go to actionnetwork.com/pro and get $20 off the annual price with the promo code POD20. So don't miss out on the best bets at the best prices. Visit actionnetwork.com/pro and use promo code POD20, that's POD20, to get $20 off of a year of Action Pro. All right, stage 2 is here, Stevie. I talked about Gregson. You got him and another driver for some top Ford bets.
Yeah, so that's going to correlate a little bit with our victory lane pick too, with a little bit of a hedge. But I'm going to go with Zane Smith and Noah Gragson for top Ford. Obviously, separate bets. Don't parlay them. I don't even know if books would let you. But so both of them are 20-1 for top Fords. And as much as I like the Penske Fords, and I think that they have a really good chance to win this weekend, just in general, I really like Zane and Noah. You got Zane, who's having a well above expectation season, and you have Noah, who is super aggressive, and that's kind of what we're looking for when we come to these speedway tracks, is aggressiveness. I mean, we saw Noah finish inside the top 3 at Talladega with the next gen car already once, and a couple top 10s. And Zane Smith, like, he's had some unlucky circumstances. I wish that Todd Gillen was still 20-1, where I could kind of throw him in there as the third piece, but Zane's too good, and I think that the odds for Zane are just a little high overall, and this is just a momentum thing for me, liking the odds. I really like Gregson. He's my favorite of the two for top Ford, but I think you could potentially add a few more top Fords as well if you kind of size them correctly and be very profitable if one of these guys hit top Ford bets. And I typically target top Ford more than like Chevy and Toyota, because the odds for Blaney and Logano kind of skew the top Ford market more than any of the other odds. So that's why when we go to Talladega and Daytona, you always hear me talk about top Ford bets. And I know you've talked about them in the past as well, but that's why, because Blaney and Logano and, Keselowski and Buescher, they just kind of pull the odds so much in their favor, and, anything can happen on these races. So I got Zane top Ford at 20-1 for a quarter unit, and Gregson top Ford at 20-1 for a quarter of a unit. And like I said, if you size it right, you could add a couple more in here and really just kind of be in it for a unit and a half, and double, triple your money here.
Absolutely. And I might even throw Cole Custer in there. Cole Custer almost won Talladega, or I should say the second Daytona race. He was in the lead for the first Daytona race before things went wild. I think he was in one of those final big ones, or even started it potentially. So Cole Custer has been in the mix for a couple wins this year at super speedways. Ended up finishing second Ford at the second Daytona race. So, he's 25-1 at Bet 365. I think you could throw him in there as well if you wanted to as well. And he's not technically aligned with those Penske cars like Noah Gragson and Zane Smith are. So there's a little bit less agenda there as well to get those Penskes into victory lane than maybe Gragson or Zane would have. Although, like you said, Zane and Noah can also kind of be in it for themselves here, because both are still trying to get their first career win as well. Plus, I mean, it's Talladega. Anything can happen. We could see Joey and Blaney get wiped out in a wreck halfway through the race, and then it's every Ford for themselves. So, yeah, I like those two, and I like Cole Custer if you wanted to throw him in there, 25-1 as well. For my stage 2 pick, Stevie, we're going funsy, but I actually really like this. And if you're following me in the Action app, if you read my story at actionnetwork.com or on the app, you'll know what this pick is. I am taking Bubba Wallace to win 22-1, but not solo. I am parlaying that at DraftKings with Denny Hamlin to finish in the top 3. That parlay comes out to 137-1 odds. And this is the spot where you want to take long shot bets, but we're essentially getting a long shot bet on two kind of favorites. And the reason I really like this is because you talked about this at the top. Denny Hamlin wants to go out and win this and prevent those Penske's from winning, or he wants to push his teammates, whether it's Tyler Reddick or Bubba Wallace, to victory lane to prevent those Penske's from winning as well. And I think there's added incentive here with Bubba Wallace because Denny Hamlin did a little bit wrong. Bubba Wallace at Kansas, it was, kind of got him into the wall on those final corners and not only cost Bubba Wallace a chance to win, but then Hamlin ultimately didn't win that race himself either. And Chase Elliott kind of stole the win there. So one of the things that would be, I think, wise for Denny to do just for the, harmony of the team and everything would be if he finds himself in a spot, push Bubba Wallace to the win, because that is very beneficial to his own playoff chances, his own championship chances. He doesn't need 5 playoff points anymore. There's no playoff points once we get to Phoenix. He is locked in. The playoff points don't matter. 5 bonus points don't matter. Yes, Denny Hamlin would love to win, but if he finds himself in a spot to push Bubba Wallace to the win, he absolutely, I believe, will do that. And I think there's added motivation from what happened at Kansas here, added motivation from keeping those Penske's out of victory lane because those Penske's are so good at Phoenix. And honestly, he probably would even want to do it to push them ahead of Chase Briscoe or Christopher Bell, simply because Briscoe and Bell are so good at Phoenix as well. You'd almost rather face a William Byron or a Chase Elliott at Phoenix than even your own teammates there because of how good JGR and how good the Penske's have been at Phoenix since the new bodies debuted for Ford and Toyota respectively last year in 2024. So I think this is a spot where there's highly correlated bets here, and we're getting true odds on the parlay. Like, DraftKings isn't taking any extra juice out for correlation here, so I absolutely love this at 137-1. I'd play this down to like almost 100-1 or so. I think Caesars even has this above 100-1 odds as well.
So Bubba was one of the drivers that I was looking at to win this race, and I usually, you and I were just talking about this pre-show, but usually I have 8 to 10 outrights that I bet at a super speedway, and I haven't bet any yet. And Bubba was one that I was looking at. I don't feel pressured to bet anything because I don't think the odds are going to move that much this week. Books are getting a lot better at pricing this stuff. But let's just be honest. You're playing the angle of Denny owes Bubba one, and Denny's going to push Bubba to win. So
Yeah.
I love it. I'm all for it. There's so many reasons why this parlay would hit. Bubba is very aggressive at super speedways. Bubba is very good at super speedways. Denny doesn't want anybody besides himself or one of his cars that are not in the playoffs to win. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, they're teammates. Like, we get that. We understand that, like, Bell and Briscoe are teammates of Denny. But if he's trying to win a championship, like, who do you not want to face? I don't want to face Christopher Bell or Ryan Blaney. Like, that is the two drivers that I do not want to face. And I think Denny's smart enough to not want to face those drivers as well. So I think if Denny could win or push, Bubba or Tyler Reddick to the win, I'm all for that. And I think that there's a lot of ways that this could hit.
Yeah, I agree. And I love getting correlation at a chaos track. I think it's a lot of fun. So stage 2, we got some nice long shots for you. Stevie has Zane Smith top Ford 20-1 quarter unit and Noah Gragson top Ford 20-1 quarter unit. And I've got that parlay, Bubba Wallace to win, parlayed with Denny Hamlin top 3 for a 137-1 odds parlay at DraftKings. So that is stage 2. We're going to come in pits again, drive through stage 3, and take the checkered flag here for victory lane. And this is a tough race, like you said, to bet, Stevie. The odds are really good, and we know betting favorites at these drafting tracks is really hard, but I think I found a good way to lump some favorites in together. I suggested it to you. We decided to roll with it. It's not a must bet or anything, but it's probably, I guess, one of our favorite bets in terms of just what's out there, because this race is tough to bet. So our victory lane pick, Stevie, Team Penske to win 3-1. Talk about that one.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just like I said, it's kind of hedging off of the top Ford market. It's hedging off of your parlay. I mean, I think it's going to be Penske running up towards the front. You know, we just got done talking about how important points are going to be for Blaney and Logano. Well, they're two of the best at kind of controlling the field. And then we get Austin Cindric, who has been incredible on super speedways. This guy has won 2 of the 15 super speedways with the next gen car, which is tied for the most in that era with Ricky Stenhouse and William Byron. So not only are we getting Blaney and Logano, we're getting Cindric, who's really good on these tracks. And if we look at average running position, they're 3 of the highest because they all work together. I mean, the Penske cars on super speedway, for as long as I can remember, not with the next gen car, but as for as long as I can remember, Penske drivers have worked together on super speedways. Doesn't matter what car it's been. I feel like teams have built concept around what Team Penske has done at super speedways and how they've worked together. Before it was Blaney, it was Logano and Keselowski, and you know, these guys are just really good at kind of running up front, and that's what we want with this car. They're going to pit together. They're going to, battle it out at the end. It's kind of how we both see it, and I think that all 3 of them are going to be up there if there's no issues.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the reason I like this bet is, first of all, my model has these 3 drivers, the Team Penske drivers, Blaney, Logano, Austin Cindric, as the top 3 in outright win probability. When I add them up, I get more than 25% to win, which is what all you need at 3-1 odds to break even long term. And it's really almost, it is. It's impossible to factor in these situational scenarios into a model. But let's say, okay, we reduce Austin Cindric's probability to win. It increases Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney's chances to win because he's probably pushing one of those guys to the win or trying to help push one of those guys. So we still get about the same win probability. Even if we take away Austin Cindric's win odds, we need to add that to Joey Logano or Ryan Blaney's, most of that to Joey Logano or Ryan Blaney's chances to win. So that still keeps us above the 25% magic number there. So, I'm going to take Team Penske to win. I almost never bet favorites for wins at super speedways, but I think this is the spot at the more calm of the 2 super speedways, Talladega, in a strategy spot where you have all the focus from not just the Penske cars, but Wood Brothers Racing and possibly even Front Row Motorsports to get these Penskes in victory lane. I think this is the spot where you want to take Team Penske victory lane, win the race at 3-1. So that is going to do it for us. Thank you for listening to the YellaWood 500 episode of Running Hot, Action Network's motorsports betting podcast. If you'd like to tail some of the bets we discussed today, look for the quick slip link in the podcast and video description, or go to actionnetwork.com/bet now. We'll be back next week to talk bets for the second to last race of the year, the Xfinity 500 at Martinsville. On behalf of my co-host, Stephen Young, thanks again for listening. We'll see you back here next week on Running Hot from Action Network.